Hey, everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I talk about EVs, real-world ownership, and whether the hype around new electric cars actually holds up when you live with them day to day. Today, we are going deep on a car that has been making a lot of noise in the EV world lately, and that is the Kia EV5. Kia has been absolutely killing it with their electric lineup over the last few years. The EV6 showed us that Kia can make an EV that feels premium and drives like a proper performance car, and the EV9 proved they can go big, boxy, and family-friendly without losing that futuristic vibe. Now, the EV5 slots right in between those two as a mid-size electric SUV, and after spending time with it, I think this might be the one that makes the most sense for most people. Let's start with how it looks because first impressions matter. The EV5 pulls a lot of design language from the EV9. So you get that bold, squared-off, digital origami look that Kia calls opposites united. From the front, you have this wide tiger face with the signature star map LED daytime running lights that stretch across the nose. It looks clean, modern, and very confident on the road. The side profile is upright and practical, which I love because it means you get real SUV space inside. Well, sizes range from 18 to 20 inches depending on trim, and the aero covers actually look good instead of cheap plastic. Around back, you get the same full-width tail light bar with those pixel-like details. Overall, it has road presence without trying too hard. Park it next to a Tesla Model Y, and the EV5 looks like it belongs in 2026, not 2020. One detail I want you to notice when you see one in person is the rear quarter panel. The way the body line kicks up and the D-pillar is blacked out gives it that floating roof look, but it still feels rugged. The door handles are flush and pop out when you walk up with the key, which always feels a bit special. And the color choices matter here. The matte blues and greens Kias often look wild in sunlight and really sell the concept car vibe. Step inside, and the first thing you notice is how airy and open the cabin feels. Kia went for a flat floor and a long wheelbase, so you get way more interior room than the exterior size suggests. The dashboard is dominated by Kia's connected car navigation cockpit, which combines a 12.3-inch driver display, a 5-inch climate control screen, and another 12.3-inch infotainment screen into one wide panel. It runs Kia's latest CCNC software, and it is fast, crisp, and pretty easy to use once you get used to the layout. I want to spend a minute on that 5-inch climate screen because it solved a problem I have with a lot of EVs. Too many cars bury everything in the main touchscreen, but Kia kept dedicated touch controls for temperature and fan speed right where your hand falls. You can still jump into the full climate menu if you want, but 90% of the time you just tap and go. One of my favorite details is the front center console situation. On some trims, Kia give you a front bench style setup, so the front passenger seat can slide, and you get a little extension that works like a table or an extra seat in a pinch. It is the kind of clever packaging that makes the car feel more versatile than most 5-seat SUVs. If you spec the relaxation seats up front, the driver and passenger seats recline with a leg rest that pops out. Put the car in charge, and you can literally nap in a zero-gravity position while you wait. Parents, imagine that on a road trip, when the kids pass out in the back. Materials are a big win here. Kia is pushing hard on sustainability, so you get recycled PET fabric, bio-based leather alternatives, and no animal leather in most trims. But it does not feel like you are sitting in a recycling bin. The surfaces are soft where you touch them. The seats are supportive, and everything feels screwed together properly. The door cards have this cool geometric pattern that looks like it was 3D printed, and the ambient lighting at night runs along the dash and doors with 64 colors you can customize. Storage is smart too. You get a huge tray under the floating center console, 2 wireless charging pads on higher trims, and cup holders that can hide away when you are not using them. Rear seat space is genuinely impressive. I am 6 feet tall, and behind my own driving position, I still have several inches of knee room and a flat floor, so 3 adults in the back is doable. The rear seats also recline, which is huge for long trips. You also get rear air vents, USB-C ports on the sides of the front seats, and a proper armrest with cup holders. For families, there are ISOFIX points that are actually easy to reach, and the doors open wide, which makes loading a car seat less a yoga session. Cargo space is around 513 liters with the seats up, and folding them flat gives you a proper load area with almost no lip. There's also a frunk under the hood, about 44 liters, perfect for charging cables or a small backpack. And here's a pro tip. The cargo floor is reversible. One side is carpet, the other is wipe-clean plastic for muddy gear or wet stuff. Now, let's talk about the stuff that really matters in an EV, which is range, charging, and how it drives. The EV5 is built on Kia's eGMP platform, but it uses a 400-volt architecture instead of the 800-volt system in the EV6 and EV9. What that means in real life is charging speeds are good, but not crazy fast. Depending on the battery pack, you are looking at 64 kilowatt-hours standard range or 88 kilowatt-hours long range. There's also a 64.2 LFP battery in some base models, which is heavier but cheaper and handles lots of charge cycles really well. In the long-range front-wheel drive version, Kia claims up to 720 kilometers of range on the CLTC cycle. If you are in markets using WLTP, expect somewhere around 530 to 550 kilometers, and real-world driving will likely land you near 480 kilometers, depending on weather and speed. I did a 110-kilometer loop with mixed city and highway and saw 16.2 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers, which would give about 540 kilometers from full to empty in good conditions. Cold weather will drop that. Expect 15 to 20% less range in winter if you are blasting heat. Fast charging from 10 to 80% takes about 30 to 36 minutes on a DC charger. The peak rate I saw was 141 kilowatts, and it holds over 100 kilowatts past 50%, which is actually really solid. On AC charging at home, you get 11 kilowatts three-phase, so a full charge overnight is easy. Kia also gives you a heat pump on most trims, which helps a lot with winter efficiency. Power-wise, there are a few setups. The base model is front-wheel drive with around 215 horsepower and 310 newton-meters of torque, which gets you from 0 to 100 in about 8.5 seconds. It feels quick enough for city driving and merging on the highway. The all-wheel drive version adds a rear motor for a combined 308 horsepower and hits 0 to 100 in about 6.1 seconds. That version feels properly rapid and gives you better traction if you deal with snow or rough roads. There's also a GT line trim that looks sportier and gets you the AWD setup with tuned suspension, but it is not a full GT performance model like the EV6 GT. The ride quality is tuned more for comfort than sport. It soaks up bumps really well and stays quiet at highway speeds thanks to the acoustic glass and good insulation. I measured cabin noise at 100 kilometers per hour, and it was quieter than a Model Y by a few decibels. Steering is light and easy, so this is an SUV you can daily without feeling like you are wrestling it through traffic. You do get drive modes: Eco, Normal, Sport, and a Snow mode on AWD cars. Sport tightens the steering and sharpens throttle response, but this is still a family SUV first. The brake feel is natural because Kia blends reg-in and friction braking well. You get iPedal 2, which is Kia's one-pedal driving mode. Set it to max, and you can drive in traffic without touching the brake pedal. And if you're new to EVs, the car lets you adjust reg-in with the paddles behind the wheel, so you can coast or get stronger reg-in depending on what you like. Tech is where Kia usually goes all out, and the EV5 is no different. You get the full suite of Kia DriveWise driver assist as standard. That means smart cruise control with stop and go, lane following assist, blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, and highway driving assist. The long-range trims add highway driving assist too, which can handle lane changes for you if you tap the indicator. I use it for 2 hours on a highway, and it is one of the least stressful systems out there. It keeps you centered, handles gentle curves, and does not ping-pong in the lane. There's also remote smart parking assist, so you can move the car forward and back with a key fob if you are in a tight spot. The infotainment supports wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you get over-the-air updates, so the car can actually improve over time. The native navigation is worth using because it has battery preconditioning. If you set a DC charger as your destination, the car will heat or cool the battery so you hit peak charging speeds when you arrive. The sound system depends on trim. Base cars get 6 speakers, while GT line gets an 8-speaker Harman Kardon setup that is genuinely good. There's also a digital key option so your phone or Apple Watch can unlock and drive the car. Kia also built in V2L or vehicle to load, which means the EV5 can power external devices. You can run a laptop, brew coffee at a campsite, or even power small tools off the car's battery. And that is such an underrated feature. There's a plug-in side under the rear seats and an adapter for the charge port outside. I ran a 1.2 kilowatt kettle and a projector off it at the same time, and the car did not even blink. Let's talk price because that is what decides if a car succeeds. The EV5 launched in China first, and the pricing there was aggressive, starting around 149,800 yuan, which directly targets the Tesla Model Y and BYD Song Plus. In global markets like Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Asia, it is positioned as a value alternative to the Model Y, Ioniq 5, and VW ID.4. In Australia, for example, the Air standard range starts under 60k drive away, and the top-spec GT Line AWD long range lands around 75k. You are getting a lot of space, tech, and warranty for the money. Kia's 7-year warranty in most markets makes a huge difference for peace of mind, especially with EVs where people still worry about battery longevity. The battery itself is covered for 7 to 8 years depending on market, usually to 70% capacity. Running costs are low too. No oil changes. Regan saves your brakes, and electricity is cheaper than gas in most places. If you have solar at home and charge during the day, you are basically driving on sunlight. So who is this car for? If you want the futuristic design and tech of the EV9, but do not need 3 rows or want to spend that much, the EV5 is the sweet spot. If you are a family that needs real back seat space, a flat floor, and good cargo room, this beats most of the competition in the segment. If you are coming from gas SUVs like a Toyota RAV4 or Honda CR-V, the EV5 feels like a natural step up without the EV learning curve being too steep. It is not trying to be a sports car like the EV6 GT, and it is not as massive as the EV9. It is just a well-rounded, practical, comfortable electric SUV that happens to look like a concept car. It also works for rideshare drivers. The rear seat space, flat floor, and easy clean materials make it perfect if you are driving people around all day. And for first-time EV buyers, the range is non-scary. The charging is predictable, and the interface does not feel like a spaceship. Now, no car is perfect, so let's cover the trade-offs. The 400-volt system means it charges slower than an EV6 or Ioniq 5, so if you road trip every weekend and need 18-minute charging, this is not that car. The performance is good, but not thrilling in front-wheel drive form, so enthusiasts might want the AWD. The LFP battery in base models is great for longevity, but it is heavier and charges slower in the cold. So if you live somewhere that sees -10 regularly, get the heat pump and precondition before fast charging. And availability is still rolling out. It is on sale in China, Australia, New Zealand, and some other markets, but Kia has not confirmed it for the US yet. If you are in North America, you might be waiting a while, or you might never see it, which is a bummer, because this would sell really well there. Also, no glove box. Because of the front bench option, Kia deleted the traditional glove box. You get a drawer under the center console instead. Some people will hate that. Some will not care. Here is how I would spec it if I was buying one. If you mostly drive in the city and have home charging, the long-range front-wheel drive air or earth trim is the value play. You get the big battery, good efficiency, and all the key tech. If you deal with snow, carry people often, or just want more power, step up to the AWD GT line. You get the dual motor, nicer interior details, 20-inch wheels, and the full safety suite. Skip the standard range unless you're on a tight budget, and your commute is short. The extra range of the big battery reduces charging stress and helps with resale. Final thoughts after living with the EV5 mindset. This feels like the car that will bring a lot of mainstream buyers into EVs. It is not weird, it is not compromised, and it does not ask you to make sacrifices to go electric. You get the space of traditional SUV, the tech of a flagship EV, and a design that will still look fresh 5 years from now. Kia took everything people liked about the EV9, shrunk it to a size that works for city parking, and priced it to be competitive. If the EV6 was Kia's statement car and the EV9 was their flagship, the EV5 is the one that pays the bills. It is a sensible choice that does not feel boring, and in the car world that is a hard balance to strike. The more time I spend with it, the more I think Kia nailed the brief. It is not the fastest or the flashiest, but it is the one I would actually recommend to my family. If you guys are considering the EV5, let me know what trim you would go for and what other cars you are cross-shopping. Long range or AWD. Would you take this over a Model Y or a BYD CLU? What feature did I miss that you want to know about? Drop a comment and let's talk. And if you found this breakdown helpful, hit subscribe because I have more real-world EV reviews coming, including a 1,000-kilometer road trip in the EV5 to see how it really charges and how the range holds up. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.